think he made reference to this on the show, is in Seattle for the soon-to-be birth of his third grandchild. He talked about that on Real Talk. I feel like that's okay to reveal. So Keith's not here. Are we expecting Keith next week, Judah?
Yes.
He will be here?
Yeah.
He is? Okay. Here. All right, fantastic. So Keith will be back next week. Today we have a lot to cover on the first edition of Real Talk in 2023. We will catch up with Scott Morris of Ross Mortgage. We'll take your questions. We'll look at his crystal ball. We'll have some fun. We'll talk market conditions. Inventory still continues to be an issue. That's something we'll talk about today. Give it a like and a share anywhere you are watching, and we'll get rocking and rolling. We're live on every social media platform known to mankind. And what appears to be a nice winter day in January, although some rain in the forecast. Judah's favorite over there. All right, Judah, we're looking good on my end. We can rock and roll when you're ready, sir. Guys, good Wednesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. A pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Live Seville Network on a show that's presented by Ross Mortgage and Scott Morris. If you need help, guys, getting to the finish line with buying and selling a house, buying and selling a vacation property, refinancing a home, and just someone to talk to that has some sensibility and some common sense, Scott Morris is the guy. He joins us today on a Wednesday. Keith Smith and his beautiful 7/8 Yona Smith in Seattle currently, expecting the birth of their third grandchild. He will be back next week here on Real Talk. Judah Woodcower is our director. Why don't we welcome Scott Morris to the show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Glad to be here. Super excited. Just excited for the year. The inventory is still what it is, but at the same time, I've talked to a lot of listing agents yesterday being one of the most Mondayest Tuesdays I've had in a long time, coming off the holiday, and a lot of activity as far as people wanting to get their properties on market. We had a ton of activity, applications, people wanting to get in and buy as they're heading into the year. I've got some people, John Snow on the team, starting to get some traction, doing great. Just really excited for 2023.
Michael Fisher giving you some props right now. Welcome to the program. We got some comments coming in already.
Michael Fisher has a big loan officer video conference type thing this I believe at 11:30 with Kai McBride and Scott Groves, some big national coach type people today, which I'm going to try to get on. I'm going to jump on if I can, Mike. If not, I will definitely have someone from the team watching.
There you go. He mentions John Snow. John, if you're watching, I'll give you some props. Maybe the largest biceps and pythons of any mortgage officer in Central Virginia.
Yeah,
dude gets after it.
Yeah.
He gets after it. We'll cut our first highlight clip on this question, which you've kind of touched on, but offer a little more perspective. What's the temperature on the streets with the calls you're making, with the folks you're working alongside, and helping get to the closing table?
The people that I've been talking to have been very excited about the opportunity to get in, and whether it be a first-time home buyer, there's still investment opportunities. I've got people who are kind of getting through the holidays and looking at taking some cash out for projects that they've got on target for 2023. Very optimistic, I guess, is the best way, and energetic is what I've seen from the people that I've been talking to and working with.
A follow-up question for the first highlight clip, J-Dubs. Rates, movement, predictions, what are you seeing happening?
We're seeing people pile into the U.S. 10-year, so that lowering the yield there, but investors haven't quite jumped on board with that this morning. I think that's just because there's been so much volatility. that they want to see if it sticks. But huge movement in the U.S. 10-year this morning, but not huge movement in the MBS activity. But I think we've seen so much back and forth. Last Friday, we saw a huge negative day for the U.S. 10-year where people sold out of it, and rates followed it back up because we actually dipped into where we were quoting people in the fives, 5.99, 5.875 we're out there. And now we're back into the low to mid sixes. I think if we continue to see what we're seeing in the bond market stick, we're going to see rates trickle down into the high fives over the next few weeks and stay and potentially stay there for a while.
There's the first one right there, J-Dubs. Second one to follow. What could help get more inventory on this market, which could potentially create some momentum for everyone that's on the supply chain?
Part of it's rate. Once we see a little dip, and I think the mental leap it takes, it's like if you're Jon Snow and you're working out and you got to throw an extra plate on there and your brain tells you it's too heavy, people are telling them the rates are too high. I think we break that 6% barrier and we put fives on the board. You see more people willing to go, okay, I can move from here to there. I know this is high, but this isn't the end of the world. I think the 6% is kind of a bit of a mental barrier that's preventing people from taking that next step as far as listing to then go in and purchase at that same aspect, especially considering some of them may be in the threes or even the twos, depending on when or how they lock the rate back in 2020, 2021 if they refinanced.
That's a great second sizzle reel right there. I had this conversation with a friend over the weekend. What is going to motivate the folks who refinanced or bought homes early in COVID and locked in rates in the high twos or somewhere in the threes to jump back in the game?
What motivates us to do anything? It's about, if you're talking about, you got somebody like my dad, dude's gonna live how he's gonna live and he doesn't care. That's it. But if you've got somebody
like your dad,
younger, more growing, if there's someone who wants something, that's going to be part of it, and part of the shift will be. People make these decisions based on largely emotion, and then what creates the dream for their family or the next step for themselves. So, if they feel the block is the rate, if rates come down a little bit, then that gives the excuse to say, okay, I can do this. I can take the X amount of equity that I've gained in this home, and I can use that to make a larger down payment and try to keep my payments similar. I understand that things are not what they were, but this is what I want things to look like for myself and my family. They're going to take that next step based off of how they feel about what they want their future to look like.
Got the Blair family watching the show. We love when you guys tune in and ask questions and offer perspective. We'll get to some of the comments coming in a matter of moments. Before we do, the agents that you work alongside, their forecast for what, or their conversations they're having with you for the next couple quarters here in 2023?
It depends. So, there certainly are. There are people who have been in the industry longer who kind of view this as a speed bump. And there's people who kind of hit the panic button over the last couple of months. I think the large take, the big outlook, is very optimistic as far as there's a lot of equity and all it takes is a little bit of movement to get things moving in the right direction. Now, part of this also is people comparing the number of sales to the last 2 years rather than to the 5 years prior to that. I think when you look at that, this year puts this year much more in perspective with, say, 2017 or 2018, and those weren't bad years for everyone. People were doing business and making money and making transitions, and we live in an area that's very blessed as far as its opportunity for growth. Whether it be one of the alphabets, the DIA, NGIC, or the University of Virginia, there's a lot of opportunity here as far as job growth goes.
I like it. Scott's on point today. All right, let's get to this comments coming in here. Grayson's asking about the 2-1 buy downs and if they're still prevalent, and if Scott can offer some insight into how they work.
Still prevalent. So what you're doing is you're asking the seller for a concession. So if it's a conventional loan and you're getting 3%, you'd be paying your own closing cost, and you'd be using that 3% in concessions that you're getting to pay down the prepaid interest for the first 2 years of the loan. So let's say that today's rate was 6%. You'd have a first year of 4%, a second year of 5%, and then 6% in perpetuity, with the option to refinance inside of those first 2 years. And should you do that, when that loan is made whole with the investor, they owe you the difference in that prepaid interest, which actually would help pay for the refinance that you would get at the end.
I love it. That was a good explanation. There's a third one. That was succinct and absolutely on point right there. Thank you, Judah Wickower, our director. We chop up, viewers and listeners, some of the content from this long-form show into highlight clips. And our boy Scott Morse has been on fire here through the first 3 highlight clips. Do we think in 2023, Scott, that the business for producers like yourself is going to be on the plane of a 2019, 2018? That's the barometer you're saying we should be watching?
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Now, certainly there's winners and losers, and people shift, and, some people will be, it depends on what are you doing? What are you investing in yourself and your business in order to make that the case? Some people may not be as successful as they were. Some people may be much more successful than they were. A lot of it's going to be on the daily activities that you're taking, just like anything else. Like, dude, you getting stronger? You running faster? You going further? You eating cleaner? Or do you say, well, I had a great 2 years and this market is tough and I don't like it? It just depends on who you are as a human.
Do you see, Anita Brittner Somerville says she loves seeing all your success, Scott?
She's an awesome lady. Her husband does some magnificent builds in Northern Virginia. However, they're on like these Vienna price points to where you're like, what an awesome house. And you're like, it's $2.4 million. But they are amazing people, and they do a fantastic job. So big shout out to Nina, her husband, and everything they do up in Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia in the house, watching the program as we speak. Do you see, like, your business is primed for success? You got good team members, you grind, you got vision, you want to hustle. Do you see, like, folks in your position, whether on the mortgage side, on the real estate sales side, on the closing side, on the home inspection side, the appraisal side, can they start gobbling up market share as competitors are potentially closing doors?
Absolutely. And again, you'll see that with home inspectors is a great example. If you're someone that is well-liked and you do a good job and you don't terrify the borrower, but you do a thorough process and you inform everyone of everything, people are going to want to work with you. Those people are going to grow. If you view things differently, or if you don't communicate well, which is what this business really, most business is. It comes down to some level of communication. That makes a difference for everybody. Who do you want to work with? I mean, that's the key for me. Is I want to have partners that when the phone rings, that I go, oh, thank gosh they're calling. I'm so excited. Not like, oof, like this is going to be a tough one.
Carter, watching in Short Pump, has any area of Scott's coverage range slowed down, and has any area picked up or at a quicker speed or quicker rate than others? If so, which ones?
If I had to put a finger on what I thought was slowing, and I'm sure there's someone out there with a different opinion, it's actually been some of the more rural areas. Even though that we're at a reduced price point, with the lower amount of inventory, some of the properties that are coming on seem to have some deferred maintenance, and even at a lower price point, I'm seeing those sit. And talking to agents, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. And whether that be King George or somewhere out, Spotsylvania, Buckingham. That is my perception of what I've seen go on.
Wild Bill McChesney, welcome to the program, the mayor of McIntyre. How's the jumbo market doing?
Well, with the increase in loan level amounts,
what's it at now?
So you can, like, let's say you're in the Northern Virginia corridor, you can be in high balance non-jumbo pricing at $1 million. So I've seen most of my business is from like 1.2 down. I don't do a ton of $2 million-ish, and I probably would say that the people who are buying those homes, some of them, they're either super high earners. I didn't know that this section of Georgetown existed, just north of Georgetown. So instead of making a right, towards all the shops, you make a left towards northwest where the embassies are. And there's a whole nother level of money.
Put it in perspective. What were you seeing?
So you'll see kind of like your old colonials, because some, those level of homes exist, but these things are $2.5–3 million for the same type of property that you'd see in Charlottesville. It's bonkers. Or you'd see where somebody's torn down one of those and built this super modern looking thing right in the middle of this neighborhood. It's wild, and everybody's got Land Rovers.
So that buyers come in cash.
I'd say a lot of them come in cash, or depending on if they've. That's not my market. And my again, $1.2 million down, that's kind of what we see in this area until you get into some of the larger farms and properties. And how many of those I don't know the statistics on how many of those transactions take place each month.
Yeah, I would say many. And I would say a lot of those transactions are trading off MLS.
And so,
and pocket listing format. As opposed to public interfacing type of listings. Here's a good follow-up question from Tina, who's watching the program. To Jerry's question, is luxury in even the $1.2 million that Scott's dealing with, is it softening a little bit as the rates continue to be a little bit higher?
I think that's, kind of what we were just talking about, is you're seeing some slowing in that. But again, if it's off-market, never hits the MLS,
how do we
really know?
Yeah, absolutely. Entry. We always have to highlight every aspect of the price spectrum. Neil Williamson, welcome to the show. Entry level, first-time home buyers. What kind of activity are you seeing at the entry level here early in 2023?
And whether it has to do with the advertising that I'm doing now, or I've had more activity in the last 2 weeks, and part of that I think people being home for the holidays, scrolling social, seeing what's available, and going, I want to, maybe it's a New Year's resolution. A lot of activity for first-time buyers trying to get into the market.
Nikki Sheridan giving you some props right now.
Big ups. Kent Store, what's happening?
Kent Store in the house.
Yeah,
Nikki Sheridan.
Yeah.
Nikki, thank you for watching the program here. Do you think that this 2023 could be an easier run for the first-time home buyers than they've had over the last few years, which have been brutal?
Yeah, that's kind of been the bell I've been ringing, is you're going to have the opportunity to get in, get away from paying rent, build some equity in the home. You're going to make an offer where you can go in with a home inspection. You may be competing against one or two other people, but you're not competing against 12, and put yourself in a position to where you stay on top of credit and payments. You're going to be able to refinance most likely in the next 24 months, and you're going to have a fixed payment to deal with rather than an ever increasing rent.
Michael Stengler on Twitter for Scott Morris, and I love the questions coming in. Keep the comments coming in. This is from Twitter. Jerry, for your guess, any potential loan products that are available in 2023 for a first-time home buyer that have not been available in the past?
Nothing that's specific that I've seen. I've seen some adjustments to existing products. So some of them have increased debt to income, so allowing someone who may not have qualified, but we're talking very small margins here, going from 45 to 50% of debt to income. And what that means for someone who's watching, that means, let's say you make $3,000 a month, your total payment couldn't be more than $1,500 or 50% of that total monthly income. Nothing specifically new, but adjustments inside of existing products.
James watching the program, and James has a good question. James Long, he says, did the stock market dynamics impact Scott's business, specifically the volatility with Wall Street and the indices? Do they have an impact on clients and applications? That's a good question.
Yes, but it trails. So by the time the news is telling you that something's happened, it may have already reversed. And what I mean by that is, so the markets both the bond market and the stock market affect mortgage interest rates. The bond market drives typically investor mortgage-backed security activity. So when you see people buy into the bond market and yields go down, so red on the screen is good in that sense. So today, the morning opened up with a 10 basis point decrease in the U.S. 10-year Treasury, but you didn't see MBS activity follow that. Even though we're seeing some strong equity, the Dow Jones, S&P 500 both up, but we're not seeing investors chase that 10-year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the volatility that we've seen over the last few weeks. They want to see if what's happened today actually sticks. We saw yesterday we had a big swing in the morning, but then it gave it all back up by lunchtime.
Scott Morris on fire today. Mustache Dan Pettit watching the program, Real Estate 3's finest, and he's coming with a few comments. And thank you, Dan Pettit, on the compliment with the beard. We're not yet at the itchy stage, so it stays on my face. Once it gets itchy, it comes off, and then I regrow it again. He's got questions specifically for the mortgage expert, Ross Mortgages, Scott Morris. He says, Scott, do you think rates will get up to 8.5% this year? And are you seeing more cash contracts as rates increase or stay relatively the same?
Are the same people that want rates to get to 8.5% the same people that want Bitcoin to get to zero? Like, is everyone cheering for zero? Like, no, I don't think rates are going to get to 8.5%. I think we're starting to see a shift both in inflation, in jobless claims, to drive the market in the direction that it needs to go to bring things back down, not up. I think what we all want, and from an investor standpoint to an agent and loan officer standpoint, or mortgage advisor, as I like to try to get away from the LO because nobody knows what that means when you talk to them, is we all want
that, mortgage advisor.
Yeah, we all want some good news. And the Fed swings a blunt instrument, not a scalpel, and the interest rates increases that we've seen, as they're going to begin taking effect, should bring both, unfortunately, jobless claims and a reduced amount of inflation and lower mortgage interest rates.
You're on point.
Thanks,
You're
bro.
very much on point. This is a follow-up question for you on this same conversation. What's he expecting from the next Jay Powell meeting and what the Fed's going to do?
50 bips. I think they've telegraphed. It's the WWE right now. Like it's very scripted. They've come in and they've said. We are going to continue these rate rises. I think they want to get to probably March before they pause. I don't know that to be fact, but that is what I've seen forecasted, and that's kind of what the message they're trying to deliver is. And part of it is they need to continue that message so that the equity market doesn't take back off, and the inflation that we're dealing with actually does hedge instead of continue to increase.
Follow-up question for you. This one's from me, and guys, keep the comments coming in. I see them registering. I'm going to get to as many as possible. Are we more likely to see in 2023 7% rates or 5%, low 5% rates? Let's say it's something with a 7 in front of it, or something below 5.5.
Below 5.5. I think we're more likely to land in that 5 to 6. I think 7's probably the ceiling.
Okay.
And 5.5 is probably the basement. That would be my guess. I don't think we've got some, runaway train in either direction. Unless let's say that the Fed just doesn't have inflation under control and everything just totally comes apart. That's not really what they're banking for or targeting. And I think they've made enough moves to where we don't go in that direction. And at the same time, I don't think that even if we face, let's say we end up in a recession, which I think we're probably already in, I don't think there's enough movement in the bond market to push us below 5.5%.
Todd Willis giving you props right now. What up, Todd Willis? Thank you for watching the program. Or Todd Wills.
Todd Wills, all the way down to the Outer Banks, bro.
Todd Wills giving you some props right now. I apologize, Todd. Todd Wills. I'm going to get that correct. Giving you some love. Here's another follow-up question, and you get this all the time. And you got the Mr. Morris on this one. Mr. Morris, will we ever see rates at the levels that we saw during the pandemic?
Highly, highly unlikely, or at least highly, highly unlikely in the next decade.
Wow.
I mean, look at everything that the Fed probably thinks that they learned, or we hope that they learned in the actions they took that got us there.
Okay, so let's spitball the lessons we hope the Fed learn. Don't print a bunch of free money and give it to people.
Don't make the monetary policy so ridiculously
easy?
Yeah.
Is that the word you were looking for?
Easy, freewheeling, yeah. So it's like we were talking about Tesla prior to the show. When you look
Tesla stock is down dramatically.
When you look at a stock market that seems to have no losers, that's a problem.
Sure. We saw that during COVID.
And we're right now, there's a ton of zombie companies out there that are that just haven't failed yet. And that's part of what we're seeing that's driving markets right now is the debt service that they took on during those cheap rates, not everyone's going to be able to accommodate that. They're not going to be able to repay that money. And it's only a matter of time before that catches up with them. And that goes all the way from big companies to small companies. And we talk about local business to business sales. There was a great line in the show Yellowstone in the last week or two where the chick that everybody likes, she goes, businesses, you don't sell a business that makes money, you sell the losers. And so people who've gone in and borrowed a bunch of, not a bunch of money, but they did what they had to do to survive during the pandemic when they took these SBA loans that would then pushed into deferment that came active again in November. Now that they're having to repay this money, they're kind of having an OS moment and going, all right, well, what are we going to do? And if there's somebody who thinks that they can unload it, people like you get a phone call.
And that's exactly what I'm seeing. And I do some of the business brokerage around town, and not to get too much in the weeds with what's happening with some of our clients, but very many of them, it's associated with debt service accrued during the pandemic.
100%.
And a lot of it, unfortunately, is floating debt, where that rate is moving as Powell's moving rates, and it's getting difficult to just make minimum.
And that's for the small
payments.
business. There's plenty of big businesses that took lots and lots of money because they could get it at a low interest rate, and now through winners and losers, people not walking in the door, not ordering online, whatever the product wasn't that great to begin with, they exist right now, but they're not going to exist forever.
Yeah, I think what's happened is the consumer is now having to be a little bit more
discretionary.
A little bit more cautious with how they're spending their money.
What's the hottest topic on Facebook right now is the price of eggs.
Yeah. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Bro, I got chickens. And it's, I get it. I've never understood how you were getting 99 cents a dozen. So.
What is the price of eggs now, a dozen?
I saw somebody, I saw $8 for a pack of 18
what?
Posted on.
Did you hear that, Judah?
I don't.
Were they organic?
I don't know. Let somebody do a Google of a Kroger or something.
Give us
hook us up, Judah.
Yeah, Judah, hook us up with those numbers there. I would love to know the cost of eggs. This question's come in. Scott, since you have been in the business, what is the highest rate you were involved in? Was it above 8%? I think we have no idea where rates are going to go, maybe between 5 and 8%. And then he says, my first interest rate was 16%.
And was that in 1980 what?
What year was the 16% interest rate, DP? Let us know in the feed here. What's the highest rates for any deals you've done since you've been in business? He wants to know.
7.5.
7.5. When was that?
In the last 6 months.
Was it bad? Was it not great credit?
It was a combination of things. It was a combination of things. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's fair. Judah, let me know when you have I'm dying to know the price of the eggs, as are other folks. 1982 was the 16%.
Come on, bro.
16%. What was the cost of the house, DP, in 1982?
$40,000.
And I would bet it's under 100K. I would bet it's under 100K, but DP's going to let us know. Lisa Costello, welcome to the program, and thank you for watching. It looks like our enterprising director on a 3-shot may have some cost of eggs for us here. The previous barometer was a gallon of milk. Now we're over to the commodity that is eggs. What do we got, Judah?
Let's see. Hold on.
Butter also is
I'm
getting-
seeing
Don't get
that,
Keith Smith started on butter.
This is from Charlottesville Food Line. We got close to $4 for a dozen large eggs. $5 if you go with Eggland's Best.
Give me Wegmans. I want to know where the bougie people are shopping and complaining.
Give some props to your boy Jake McNamara for watching.
Jake, what's up, my friend? How are you, sir?
Your boy Jamie Turner watching in Culpeper right now.
All right.
He's repping the pep. He loves to use that statement. Neil Williamson just shared a link. Gosh, I love you, Neil Williamson. Judah, keep the knowledge coming. Dude, you may have a business with your chickens and the eggs right there. This guy's got so many, what do we call it? We called it a farmette. That's what you love?
It's a farmette. I mean, yeah, I've got a barn that hopefully I can keep horses out of for the rest of my life. But you know, I've got little girls who may want those things. So, you know. And
those girls seem to be running the family over there.
They run the show.
The misery index was shared on the feed, which is meant to measure the degree of economic distress felt by people every day due to the risk of or actual joblessness combined with an increased cost of living. The misery index is calculated by adding the seasonally adjusted unemployment rate to the inflation rate. That's shared there by Neil Williamson. Do you want to touch on that at all, or do you want to go to the eggs with what Judah's got coming up?
I haven't seen it. I believe it's probably the highest it's been in a long time, but I haven't actually seen it. So
I would imagine it's at the highest it's been in a long time as well. J-Dubs, what's that number you got for us?
but I will check it out after the show.
It
deal.
actually looks like Wegmans is cheaper. Eggland's Best are exactly the same, and their large eggs are about 30, 40 cents cheaper than Food Line.
Micah Haynes
Surprising.
is giving Scott Moore some props. Micah L. Haynes, welcome to the broadcast. This question's come in from Laura. She goes, it's clear that you guys don't do much grocery shopping, which is true. I don't do a lot of grocery shopping.
I do quite a bit of grocery.
Do you do the grocery?
Yeah,
Okay, she's
I don't
calling
buy-
me out.
But I
then.
don't buy eggs.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He doesn't have to buy eggs, Laura. So he's got chickens on his farm.
I collect them from chickens outside. I buy feed, which is going up
It's clear you
probably
guys don't do
30%.
much grocery shopping.
I can tell you that beef had gone up and seems to have come back down. Yogurt seems to be up because my kids eat a ton of in fact, has doubled.
The individual packs?
The
Yogos or whatever they're...
or they get the organic. I don't know. It's like there's like a picture of a pear and a banana and a strawberry hugging each other.
That's the one my kid eats.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, they've doubled in price. So I mean, I don't know. So I am in tune with a lot of the grocery costs. I do not. I see what I see on social media as far as the eggs go. I do know butter has gone up substantially as well. Probably I would say 30 to 40%. But I could not tell you the actual cost of eggs because I don't buy them.
Okay, she adds, it's clear that Jerry doesn't do much grocery shopping. She goes, thank you, Scott, for providing that perspective. And then she adds, with the cost of groceries these days, households are just trying to keep food on the table and the bills paid. They certainly don't have the discretionary income to be supporting some of the businesses that are selling products that weren't very good to begin with, as Scott put it.
100%.
So I appreciate that perspective from her. Gallon of milk, do you know how much that runs? She's asking for us to know the cost of a gallon of milk.
Actually, it's one of the things that I never look at.
Judah, do you know?
But I buy a lot of it.
Kind of. I get.
This is the one that the presidents get all the time. What's the cost of a gallon of milk?
For milk, I get lactose-free.
Lactose-free.
And I think it's usually about $3.50, and the Lactaid, like on brand, is usually $1 more than that.
Okay, Judah. Man knows his groceries over there.
Do
you wanna jump in?
I know that I buy it like 2 gallons at a time, but it's something that I never pay attention to.
I want to say it's in the area of $2, but I do not know. Maybe you can give us the Wegmans price of milk. She's asking that question right there.
Let's see.
Judah Wickower. Neil is sharing a USA Today fact check link on inflation when it comes to groceries. And he says they've hit generational highs, the cost of groceries.
Yeah.
That's wild, right?
So I've always, now when you get into like loss leaders and this whole thing, I've never understood how they sell a rotisserie chicken
You're talking Costco now.
or Kroger or anybody who does, Martin's, Giant, etc. Anybody who's got that little kiosk full of hot rotisserie chicken sitting in the middle of the store for $6.99.
Costco very famously loses money on all its rotisserie chicken sales to get people in the door.
I would think that everyone does, because there's no way that they get that chicken grown, fed, shipped, processed, cooked at the store by an employee for $7. I've never understood it. I get it's a loss leader. It's just always been a wild thing to me. I've always kind of been make it make sense.
Well, the interesting aspect of the Costco model is Costco makes its money on the memberships. They're basically breaking even in some cases losing money on the grocery sales.
But Kroger doesn't, and Harris Teeter, everybody who does it, if everybody has a rotisserie chicken, it's not driving people in the door. The fact that's
Well, what will get you in the door? Would it be the cheap gas?
convenience. The same
Yeah.
reason I go to X, Y, and Z for an oil change, whatever it is. I want to go there because this makes sense to me. I like your products. Your store's clean. It doesn't smell bad. The same. I want a high level of service, and I want it to. That's I would think why. Although people will drive an extra 10 minutes when they think gas is 10 cents cheaper that far away. At a certain point, what's your time worth? How do you want to be treated? Do you want to have confidence in the place that you're, just like with what we do. I'm sure Wells Fargo will close your loan in 6 months. Just quit asking them about it. And, whereas, we will be clear to close in 9 days if you need us to be.
Maggie Gunnell's giving you some props.
What up, Maggie Gunnels? How is Lake Monticello?
Maggie Gunnell's expanding the footprint, her sales footprint as we speak. Judah, multiple people are asking for the cost of the gallon of milk right now. Do you have it?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. We got for Wegmans, Wegmans brand whole milk is $3.33 a gallon.
I feel like $2.89 is like a number that's sticking in my head. So that's probably right.
Whole milk gallon is over $3. What about the cost of skim milk? Or a skim milk family?
Do you want to know the most outrageous
Skim
thing?
milk?
No.
Have you guys bought mac and cheese from Panera?
No, is it? Well, remember, before you make this comment here, Kelly Jackson's watching the program, and she has 17 Panera Breads that she currently owns.
Okay. Well, then she's raking it in
Okay.
because they are $10 for mac and cheese. $10 for the large mac and cheese. I was told to go by Panera and pick up 2 large mac and cheeses because that's what the girls wanted, and they were refusing to eat whatever else. I get to the drive-thru and I was like, never again. I've bought large shells, Wisconsin cheddar in a block. I will make this this homemade version of Panera's mac and cheese before I drop $20 on two containers of mac and cheese.
Did your daughters eat the mac and cheese?
I've crushed it. They love it.
They loved it?
And to the point where they heard me complaining about it, so now they say, we like the expensive mac and cheese.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
man.
that's amazing. The Morris twins are running the household over there. Would they eat the mac and cheese if they knew Daddy made it?
Probably, as long as it looks the same and
Would you have to trick them by putting it in the Panera
we're going to find out.
containers?
We're about to find out.
He's saved. Judah's laughing. He saved the Panera containers for the next time he's going to
100%.
make the
Yeah,
mac and cheese.
I'm all in on this. I'm not getting beat by them again.
I have a feeling your daughters are extremely smart, and they're going to call out Daddy's
That's fine.
trickeration over there. The skim milk price was what? And why did you scoff at me when I said skim milk over there? Was it because it's watered down milk? Is that why?
It's like water with white food coloring.
I've heard that before. Katie Pearl, welcome to the
Is
program.
is that the fat free?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's $2.54 per gallon.
All right, that's what we're drinking at the Miller House.
All right, and I'm 2%, so I'm 2. So that's where my 289 probably came from.
Yeah.
We're 3% for whole, 250.
This guy's drinking whole milk over here.
2% right now is $2.96.
Katie Pearl, KTP, welcome to the program. She's the queen of Whitehall. She says, guys, 1 dozen eggs is over $5. We
What?
go through
Where?
She goes, we go through 4 dozen a week. Maybe it's time to get some chickens like Scott.
Hey, and
She has 5 kids.
and they help
Just
with,
5 kids.
And it helps with food waste because I feed basically when I go every time I grocery shop, I clean out the fridge. Clean out the fridge goes to the chickens.
Really?
100%. Yeah, they'll literally eat anything. There's things that you don't want to feed them, like you don't want to feed them heavy onions because they can actually pass that flavor along into the egg.
Ugh.
But for the most part, like they're gonna eat whatever. Yeah, they'll eat anything.
How much maintenance are the chickens?
Water when it gets really cold is probably the biggest pain in the tail. But
Why? Because you're saying because the water
'cause it
freezes.
freezes,
Okay.
and then you're out there. And now there's different. I've got a system that I built that holds like I don't know 20 gallons, and it goes in through feeders, and it's got like little metal nipples that they can peck at and drink that way. But when that stuff freezes, then you've got to be able to supply them with fresh water.
The follow-up question on the chickens are gaining some traction here on the feed. Are chickens a money maker for Scott, or are they just something that he's doing to pass time with his kids? That's a very good question right there from Yvonne Dow.
They're not a moneymaker. I don't sell eggs. I give them a lot. I spend.
You brought us some eggs. They were great.
So in the summer, like when the production's up and I'm carrying a lot of birds, I'll hand them out to realtor partners or friends, family, anybody who wants them. I usually have an overflow at that point. This time of year, they slow their laying production with the light cycle. In the past, I've kept like a light on that'll keep them laying through the winter. But I've got enough birds now that were in their first year to where they lay through the winter. No, I don't sell them. No, they're not a hobby because of the kids, but they are. They look cool. I deal with there's a lot of murder that happens between hawks and foxes and stuff like that. So there's like a constant, I'm adding birds and losing birds, and it's what it is.
This is what you get when you work with Scott Morris. Not only will he get your clients to the closing table, through the closing table into the home of their dreams, but you may walk away with a dozen organic eggs from
100%.
Culpeper County.
Absolutely. I've done meat birds in the past. I've got a friend of mine who runs a restaurant and owns a restaurant in Richmond, Grisette. So if you're ever in Richmond,
You love this restaurant.
Love the restaurant. Donnie Glass, amazing human being. There's Jardine, is a wine bar that's in the old what's the Baja Bean space in
The Fan?
Yeah. So check that out if you're down there. But he wants me to do like 200 meat birds specifically for him, and I'm just like
200?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a boatload.
Yeah, it is. But it's also, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And my wife's like, you are not putting 200 stinky like meat birds like out there. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So.
Neil Williamson is loving this. He says, The Chicken Murders by Scott Morris. He's laughing out loud. The chicken resonates with the viewers and listeners. The stories from the farm here. Multiple people are laughing on the program. How the hell are you going to get 200 meat birds to Donnie Glass in Richmond from Culpeper County? You're going to drive them in your truck?
Well, I'll process them and just like complete gut, defeather everything, package, and then take them to him. He can freeze them. He can do whatever he wants with them. But I think that is probably gonna not happen. even though we talk about it frequently.
This has come in from DP. He says a half a gallon of Horizon Organic Whole High is $5.99 at Food Lion.
Horizon's the same. That's the company that makes those pouches that we're talking about.
And he says we buy this. $5.99 for a half a gallon of organic whole milk at Food Lion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money right there. All right, we'll get back to real estate here for the agents that are watching this program. So are we back to a spring market, waiting for it to spring?
I think so, but again, I feel like there was a lot of the predominantly heavy listing agents that I talked to going into the holiday had people that were, planning on listing after the new year. I had a ton of buyer activity through the holiday, and whether that's from people who were just kind of scrolling Facebook and saying, "Hey, we want to buy a house next year," whatever that reason being, that activity is there.
I think it's going to happen, guys, as the weather gets a little bit warmer as well. The question is, do you think there's going to be buyer activity at that time?
Yes, I think if we see rates. And part of that's transitional too. If you've got people who, all right, rates are in the fives. Should rates get to be in the fives consistently? And
that would definitely get people into the game.
That's going to get things moving. A company with the amount of equity they have in the home, it gives people who've purchased in the last 2 or 3 years a lot of options. Now the question is, do we have new build, are we just in existing sale to sale that there's got to be enough of if someone's willing to sell to move to reach out and find, and that's the problem that we've run into for the past couple of years.
Nick Hawkins watching the program, he goes, Jerry convinced me, and ask Scott this as well. What would motivate my family to get rid of our 3% mortgage on a 30-year fixed to jump into something that's more expensive? Sell me now.
I'm not selling anybody. I'm going to help you with your. Are you guys having another child? Does your house fit your current needs? Do you want to move away from a more urban environment to a more rural environment? Is there a school system that you found that fits your family's needs better? Those are all things that you have to ask yourself. And if you've got no reason to move, why would you move even if rates went to 2%? Would rates at 2% be beneficial towards your what's going on in your life? Because if it's not, why would any of that make sense?
I think the word us selling you is not the right one, Nick. We're just saying that there are options out there should you need them.
But if people want to do something for the betterment of their emotional
quality of life,
yeah, family,
they'll do it.
They'll do it.
Yeah.
They'll come up with a reason that makes sense to them.
Sure. And we also have a number of life events that motivate folks to move: divorce, death, expanded family. And one thing I've learned from this man sitting across from me is those events always happen.
Those events always happen.
And they always create momentum with the real estate market, granted at different levels. But those events always happen. So you're feeling pretty good. I was curious to feel what your mood was going into this year. And if we look back at this show at the end of 2023, the mood I'm getting from you is confident, bullish, feeling pretty good of where things are going.
Feeling pretty good, bro.
Okay, and that's legit.
And that's legit.
Okay.
That is, I feel like if we made it through the last 3 months of last year, when I think rates were, at their peak. I think when we were in the mid sevens in some cases, or quoting 7% to even your good credit buyer, that was probably the high side. And if we can get a little bit lower, we're going to see people make the mental shift to say, okay, I can do this. I don't like it, but at the same time, that's like when you've got a buyer and a seller. Like, how can we all be equally unhappy about this and move forward? That's a certain part of this is what makes this make sense. That's what moves things forward.
Yeah, I agree. And if we start seeing the fives on the national media, I 100% agree with him. That's going to get people jumping back into the pool because they're going to see it as a substantial drop, even though it's a marginal drop. But perception is reality, and perception motivates people.
So let's say in 2018, 2017 even 4.75, and now we're at 5.5. Bro, we ain't worlds apart at that point.
No.
And I think that's where reality lies.
Yeah, I that's very well said. Kelly Jackson, I see she's sending me a TikTok video from Panera Bread's drive-thru. I wonder if this has to do with the mac and cheese that you commented on. She owns 17 Panera Breads. Kelly Jackson does.
Kelly, I like Panera. Don't get me wrong. She's
very protective of Panera.
The Chipotle chicken avocado sandwich is a very, very good product. I'm just saying that I was in shell shock when I paid for that mac and cheese.
She's sending me an automated version of Panera based on what we talked about yesterday with a McDonald's in Texas going fully automated, literally with no people running the McDonald's. Think about that right there. This is a question for Scott. Has your investor business stayed the same, picked up, or dropped off?
Definitely dropped off. I mean, it was difficult for investors to pull the trigger at the higher rates to make the cash flow make sense. But I have got friends who have picked up some cash deals that they haven't really stopped. But that's on the bottom end instead of people going out and buying $500,000 homes that they want to rent.
Sean Tubbs, welcome to the program. You care to offer any perspective to Sean Tubbs, your friend over there, Judah Wickower? And he highlights Kathy Bates could be a star in the Chicken Murders with Scott Morris, the film, if that ever made it to the silver screen. Judah Wickower, jump in.
I'm not sure where to go with that.
I thought you would think that. I know you always love Sean's quips.
Oh man. Well, you think Kathy? What's she going to reprise her misery role except with chickens?
Maybe so. Maybe yes, maybe no yes.
Hobbling their legs so they can't get away.
Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no yes. DP says the rates in the grand scheme of things are still extremely good for home buyers. It's just people are being polluted by what they're seeing on the national media.
They are, but when he compares 8% now and is calling that really good compared to the 16% that he paid in 1982,
it's all relative.
There's a valuation. There's a property value there that we're 10x on that $40,000 house is now $400,000, and that makes things much more challenging when it comes from what's actually coming out of pocket for the average buyer.
And that right there, and I know once I say this, it's going to open up a Pandora's box with Scott and with Judah. That right there is what irritates me sometimes with the Dave Ramsey spiel.
Dave Ramsey's, I will tell everybody, Dave Ramsey is trash. His takes are trash.
This is gonna
he 100% told people not to buy homes unless you're putting 20% down and beat it into his people. Now, mind you, he does, from a fundamental level, tell people who are in a lot of trouble, he gives them a path to get out, and that's great. But when you tell people for years and years and years, 20% down is the only way to do it, you're an idiot if you don't do that. What were you thinking, my God? Blah, blah, blah. And then you start selling leads to realtors, and now put 5% down. It's never been a better time to buy in your life. It's and rings the Christian bell on top of it. Yes.
I knew that was going to open a Pandora's box over there. My issue with Ramsey is the whole buy one coffee less per day, and I think it's bogus. Folks are getting straddled with student loan debt that is at an all-time high. The cost of real estate is at an all-time high, and wages have not kept pace with cost of living. So for him to make these comments that millennials and Gen Zers have made their own bed, well, it's not necessarily the case, Dave. That's my point.
From a strictly fundamental level, there are some positive things there. However, I think it's when you shift how you coach and what you tell people based upon how you're running your business, I think it's predatory, and I think the dude is trash.
Well, it's interesting that he is now selling leads to agents.
Yeah,
I find that perhaps disingenuous.
to say the least.
To say the least. Neil Williamson says Jack Nicholson will play Scott Morris in the Chicken Murders on the silver screen right there. So it looks like we have Kathy Bates and Jack Nicholson as
All right.
the lead character.
I mean,
I'd see that movie.
Scott is younger.
Jack's a little. Yeah, so
He's
is
a
Kathy
little
Bates.
old.
I think this is this like the
No.
is this like the retirement home version of this?
Yeah, at least give the guy a Brad Pitt over here, Neil.
A little Matt Damon
Kathy
action.
Bates.
Somebody, yeah.
Jack and Kathy Bates, Judah. Oh, God. How about some Channing Tatum for Scott Morris over here?
So people have said that I look like what's the dude from? We talked about it a while back. It's the HBO like superhero.
That's this right up Judah's alley.
Oh, you're talking about Homelander
Yes.
from The Boys.
Yes. No. What's the?
No?
It's the wrestler dude who is it Homelander?
Oh, you're talking about Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Yeah.
That was a hilarious show.
Do you think he looks like him?
I'll do a Peacemaker.
It's John Cena.
I know it's John Cena. Do you think he looks like John Cena?
Maybe a little.
I see
it.
John Cena in the face. I see.
I
Okay,
can see it.
Yeah.
John
Just
Cena.
like I'm just like a foot shorter, and
What? About 100 pounds
100
later?
pounds later. Yeah.
Okay, John Cena is going to play Scott Morris in the Chicken Murders.
Got
Oh,
it.
man.
I like
John Cena is going to play Scott Morris. Jack Nicholson, while funny, it got me laughing. Okay, he goes, maybe Jim Carrey for Scott Morris.
Oh, man.
Neil Williamson. Oh, I love it. All right, so this question's come in, and we'll talk real estate here. Does he think that the spring market will lead into a strong summer for us agents that are watching your talk show, Jerry?
The spring market will lead to a strong summer. I think a part of it's going to have to be driven by rates. And I think part of what we're seeing in the decline in the U.S. 10-year and investors not chasing it down has to do with some investor concern about the number of loans, about what's been already written, and then those loans immediately being refinanced. I think that probably plays some part in it. What I mean by that is investors want to see a slow decline in rates, or all the loans that they've purchased are going to be refinanced before they have a chance to make any money on them, even break even. And I think that's probably being weighed pretty heavily in a lot of rooms in the Mr. Coopers and the Wells Fargos. Anybody who's a large servicer, to the point where Wells is even getting out of or backing away from the servicer side, and they're always going to originate some loans from their banking side, but they're pulling back, and you've got the Planet Home Lendings, the Mr. Coopers, who are being bigger and bigger players in the purchase side.
Chris Sharp, giving you props.
Sharp, what up, baby?
Chris Sharp saying hello. Linda Bradshaw, welcome to the broadcast, and thank you for watching over in the Culpeper Community Spotlight. We encourage you to follow the Culpeper Community Spotlight as it approaches 1,000 members. You're at 924.
We're getting there.
When you launched this group, I was like, go for it. You guys have done a hell of a job.
I'd like to get to 4,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our I Love CVille group is at 3,600.
So-
4,000 is an ambitious goal.
4,000 in. So I think you've got Culpeper County. I think has roughly 60,000 population. I'd like to have.
I didn't know it was that many people.
I think it's that many people.
Is that right?
I don't know, Judah.
You're saying the population of Culpeper County is larger than the population of the city of Charlottesville? City of Charlottesville is at
Minus-
50,000 people, roughly.
minus students.
I'm going to look that up as well.
Look it up.
If you finish your thoughts, I'll look it
I'd
up.
like to-
Oh, dude, he's right. I just learned something today on the show. I've learned a lot of things here.
I'd like
This
to
is
be
certainly-
in the 10% range of.
So then you need about 5K.
Yeah.
The population of Culpeper County as of the 2020 United States Census was 52,552 people. That's a lot larger than I thought it was. That's pretty large.
Yeah.
How much of your business is Culpeper specific?
a third probably.
Really?
Yeah. Culpeper, and then Richmond, Charlottesville. I mean, those are where the majority of my business comes from.
Did you know Culpeper was that many people? 52,000 people? I did not know that. I had no idea over there. How much is out-of-state business?
5%, a much smaller amount. And it's also where do I put my energy? That's the biggest thing. Like, am I out? I've got agents in the Outer Banks that I probably see more often than I do anyone in Charlotte or Pennsylvania. But there's people that I know there that when they need something, I'm a resource.
Jamie Turner, turn it into the champion of Culpeper. He says, come on, JM, put some respect on Culpeper County.
That's right.
We're huge. 52,552 people. 52,552. Who knew? I'm giving him some prompts over here. I love you, Jamie Turner. I love when you watch the program. All right, my friend, this is one of the best shows you've done. You came succinct, very to the point, and very approachable with your content and your explanations. We've covered some high-level stuff like the 2-1 buy down, and we've covered some predictions. It seems like you're thinking for 2023, this year, rates will be between, depending on credit score and where your financial stack up, somewhere between 5.5% and call it 7%.
I think that's fair.
That you think that some folks could find a 5.5% if things go according to according their way, and some folks may be around the 7% if they have to do some cleaning up of their credit score or some of the things in their past.
There's different things that create LLPAs or loan level price adjustments. If you want to take cash out of a double wide, they're looked at as greater risk situations that create a higher rate. That's just what you have to look at.
How about a closing message to the viewers and listeners?
Stick with what I don't know if I say this every time, but I say this a lot of times, and kind of go back to the sell me. Like, no one's going to sell you. You are going to make a decision based on what is best for you, your family, and your situation. And if I want to be your spirit guide, Keith is your spirit guide. If you're selling a business, Jerry is your spirit guide. We're not here to sell you or make you do anything. We're here to protect you through the process and make sure that you have someone that you trust that is going to get you to the end, to where you feel like you were made whole throughout that process, to where when you walk away and say, this is who everyone should work with, and I think it's crazy if you don't, because they took all the stress from this situation and they explained things to me in a way that I felt educated and not talked down to, and that's what you want in your business and in your life.
Dude, very nicely done right there. Scott Morris crushed it today. Ross Mortgage, Scott Morris, guys, give him a call. You can DM him on Facebook. You can send him emails. You can text him. He loves to communicate with people, no matter the medium.
And mostly no matter the time. From Keith texting me at 5 o'clock in the morning to
I'm getting those as well.
I had someone send me a referral who called me at 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve, and I walked her through everything that she needed to go through to make a decision.
9 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, good for you. You took the call.
I took the call. That's the number one thing when we talk about success in this business is just answer the phone.
Yeah.
Like, how most of the time, the conversation that you're going to have, it's not that complicated, bro. You get a feeling of where they're at, give them some instruction, and set an expectation for the next time you're going to reach out to them, and you've probably taken care of everything.
Boom. That's a perfect way to close. Scott Morris, guys. Ross Mortgage. Judah Wickower always chiming in with valuable perspective, like the cost of a dozen eggs and the value of a gallon of milk. Thank you very much for that, Judah Wickower. Also coming up with names for lookalikes of Scott Morris, like John Cena. Very valuable perspective today, Judah. My name is Jerry Miller. This show is presented by Ross Mortgage. We encourage you to follow Scott's YouTube channel. Do you want to get a plug for the YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel built to capture each one of these shows, so that if there's something that you thought was talked about and you want to reference, go back and take a look at. If you're in Culpeper, due to geographics, I know this does not work everywhere. If you Google best mortgage lenders, Scott Morris Ross Mortgage is going to be what populates, because, well, we are, but we're also it geolocates from where you do that. So if you're in Culpeper and you Google that, best mortgage lenders, we're going to be number one.
Very nicely done, Scott Morris. Today's show was a breeze.
Yeah, bro.
Thank
Always
you.
is. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sincerely mean that. Judah, thank you very much. The I Love Seville show is up in roughly 1 hour, where we have a lot to get to, including Sina McGill's retirement from City Council. For Scott Morris and Judah Wickhauer, my name is Jerry Miller, and this is Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Ross Mortgage. Have a good morning, guys. Take care. Nicely done, Scott.
Thanks, man.
It was excellent.